Hello, YouTube, and welcome back once again to The Edward. This is your host, Ghostface here, once again doing another episode recap and review for the new MTV series, Scream. Quickly becoming my personal favorite show. Oh, and of course, as usual, before I begin this review, I have to warn everybody that if you're not caught up on Scream, or if you're behind one episode, do not watch or listen to this video, as it will be full of massive bloody spoilers. That being said, you have been warned. So moving on, I really liked this episode. I like the direction it's heading towards right now. There's a lot of uncertainty happening with these characters, and I love the throwbacks to the original film. And we have this new character, Piper Shaw, this attractive female reporter who's doing, of course, a report on the most recent murder that happened to Nina Patterson in the first episode, and how they're now covering the suicide of one of the two girls who was in the viral video that went all around town. And of course, this reminds me so much of the lovely Gale Weathers, who has escaped my clutches on more than one occasion. But I respect her as a worthy opponent, and she's survived this long, so that must mean that the same thing will happen to this reporter character, right? It's very reminiscent of Courtney Cox, Gale Weathers from the original franchise, and I felt such nostalgia for it, and I'm sure Eddie felt the same way. In fact, he leaned over to me while we were watching it and said, this reminds me so much of the original movie, and that just makes it all the more enjoyable for the both of us. So I really like it, and of course I loved the scene where it featured the ominous phone call that the girl gets. Hello? Yes, this is security tech, blah, blah, blah. And of course that voice, I don't know who that is. I don't know if it's the original phone voice, the infamous Roger L. Jackson, a fantastic voice actor, most famous for the creepy Ghostface, the voice of Ghostface, the voice on the phone in all the Scream movies. But it might be someone else. Either way, they sure does a great job sounding a hell of a lot like yours truly. And it makes sense that the killer would be taunting her, stalking her. Like, he clearly opened her kitchen door, but immediately got away, because he was never in the house. He just made her feel like that he was in the house with all of his questions and taunting. And that reminded me so much of when I contacted Sydney for the first time in the first Scream movie, where I was toying with her, playing with her, and I eventually crossed the line by mentioning her dead whore of a mother. But it was very enjoyable, I must say that. Now, it's interesting about the second murder. We see Rachel, the young blonde who is in the internet video, with the other girl. I can't remember her name, but you know what I'm talking about. The short-haired video geek lesbian girl. Her girlfriend now commits suicide, but we all know better. We saw what really happened. The killer was waiting for her and had her hung to death, strangled her to death, so to speak. Now, whether or not this was intentional to throw off the authorities to make them think this was a suicide, or if they were counting on the fact that the coroner and the police would eventually figure out this wasn't suicide, but homicide. Was that part of the plan, or was that just a grave miscalculation the killer made? Did he really, or she really, plan for that death to be considered a suicide or a homicide? We don't know. And I love the escalating love triangle we have going on here between Emma, her jock boyfriend, and of course the new mysterious hot guy who happens to be the sheriff's son. And we have that love triangle going on. Emma is mad at her boyfriend because he slept with the first victim way back when. He claims it was a one-time thing, but she's resentful of that. And of course we know that she kissed the new hot young guy in a moment of emotion and anger and confusion, and she kissed him once but left him right away, and nothing has happened between them yet. But now, of course, with this newest death, this suicide, it makes people wonder if it really was a suicide or not. And it's got this reporter asking questions like, what does this have to do with the Brandon James case from 20 years ago? Is Brandon James back? Is this one of his relatives? We don't know. And will we know before the end of the season? I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I could meet that killer face to face and congratulate him on what a great job he's doing so far, offing these characters left and right. It's fun. Overall, this was a great episode, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think Eddie did too. You know, we're seeing how these characters, how long they've known each other for a while, and, you know, how their relationships are changing with each other due to circumstances, and what secrets may come to light. You know, we still have the English literature teacher who was clearly sleeping with his student Brooke, the very hot, blonde student Brooke. And he broke things off because he didn't want, during the police investigation, for their little affair to come to light. But she clearly resents him for that, and he obviously misses her sexually, and she probably feels the same way, but wants to toy with him, to taunt him, to punish him for throwing her out originally. And then, of course, when Emma and her boyfriend do make up, she goes to his basketball game, cheers him on, they win, but the new young hot guy is basically whispering in her ear, so wait a minute, he got you to feel sorry for him? Is that what he wanted you to think or feel? And he begins manipulating her as well, trying to make her realize that she might be being played by her boyfriend or him, possibly. It's very, very hard to see, and you can see she's very confused by all of it. And of course, she feels like she has all this blood on her hands because she was there that night when Nina recorded the two girls in the car together, and she feels so personally responsible. It's that morality that sickens me personally. I'm sure Eddie could sympathize with her as the rest of you humans, but for me personally, as a entity for evil, I just don't get this whole feeling bad thing. I really don't. It's very foreign to me. Could someone please explain it to me? Nobody? Oh, okay. Well, and then the one complaint that Eddie and I both agreed on is how the film geek, the nerd, who happens to be a huge Walking Dead fan, by the way, so kudos for that, as I am too, as shocking as that may be for you, some of you to believe. I love The Walking Dead, as does Eddie, as you all know. But the fact that he hooks up with the really hot girl, and then they hit it off, and she's coming on to him, and he really likes her, but doesn't know what kind of move to make, you know, that part's fairly realistic. Him not having a clue of what to do, or what lines to use, but she's making the moves on him. I could see where that's real, but the unrealistic part is that nerds, film geeks like that, never, ever have hot girlfriends like that, ever. And if they do, I have yet to see a case where that has happened in reality. I was talking to Eddie about this. Well, when I say talking, I was talking, but Eddie was ranting about it, how, oh, that would never happen, that's never happened, I've never seen that happen, a film geek in a movie or in real life who gets a girlfriend that hot, that fast. But you know what, it's TV, so they can do whatever they want. And this isn't real, this isn't reality, although it is set in present times, because I enjoyed the references to Terminator Genesis and Game of Thrones, because those two came in together thanks to the actress who's in both of them, and they talk about Walking Dead, they talk about Hannibal, and, you know, the literature teacher refers to the film geek Noah as Will Graham, a reference to the NBC show Hannibal. You know, I love how this show pokes fun at itself, but, you know, it stays so up to date on all the modern trends. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. And I believe Eddie is too. So overall, this was a good episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next two, and you can stay tuned for an upcoming review and recap video regarding those two next episodes. And of course, for those of you who are caught up, you all know what happens, as I unfortunately do not, since Eddie and I have lots of catching up to do, but we will get that done today, I promise you that. So stay tuned for those videos. Well, I guess this is the point in the time where Eddie will say something like, thanks for watching and subscribing, comment on this video down below, blah blah blah, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You don't want to hear that anymore. This is me we're talking to. It's me, Ghostface. So you know what I say? Go out there and enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Sunday, and just don't try to forget the fact that tomorrow is Monday. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. Eddie and I do appreciate it, and I certainly appreciate it because I get to talk to some of you about how this show makes me feel. As the original killer from the film series, it really, really does a number on my heart. Well, I used to have a heart here, but it went somewhere and I can't find it. But you know what I mean. It gets to me. And I thought I was incapable of feeling anything, but I guess not. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. And make sure you catch Scream on MTV every Tuesday night. It gets better and better with each episode, more and more interesting and tingling. And I guess until next time, what's your favorite scary movie?